What's up guys, welcome to another video, and it's a video you all have been waiting on, but I finally decided to try Turkesterone. But before I jump into that, I'm gonna briefly discuss what Turkesterone is without getting all scientific on y'all. Turkesterone is a form of ecdysterone that's found in insects, and just like how humans produce testosterone, insects produce ecdysterone, and we all know that testosterone aids in building muscle. It's seen as anabolic, so ecdysterone is also seen as anabolic. So humans have been experimenting with it. I think ecdysterone has been around since the 1970s. And just to make this clear, Turkesterone is natural. It doesn't affect your hormones at all, and it's not banned by WADA currently. Before I get into my whole experience, I want to talk about my lifting career a bit. So I've been lifting for just over 5 years now. I started in 2016. I'm natural. I haven't taken any form of SAMs or steroids, anything like that. The only supplements I've been taking is protein, creatine, the basic stuff.
I mean, basic. You got, your tests, D-ball. It's just basic stuff.
I made most of my gains within the first 2 years of training, as any newbie lifter would do. Ever since that 2-year mark, my gains have slowed down significantly. And I've reached a point, before I started Turkesterone, I reached a point where it was very difficult to put on muscle. So I just want to make that super clear. I'm not a newbie lifter. I've been lifting for over 5 years now. My gains slowed down significantly. And I'm not one of those guys who are new to lifting, making newbie gains, and decided to hop on Turkesterone and see all the gains they made was from Turkesterone, when in fact it's from their newbie gains. If you're new to lifting, I would highly recommend not taking Turkesterone. It's not for you. So I started my Turkesterone cycle on January 10th and I finished it on February 12th. So I've been on Turkesterone for just over a month. In terms of side effects, I haven't heard anyone on the internet talk about this, but I started off taking 6 pills from the get-go, and after around my 7th or 8th day, I started getting a bit of tummy aches. It wasn't too bad. I just went on my days, it was, I could have handled it. But on my 9th day, I went to bed and I was woken up by really bad stomach pains. Like, these pains were off the charts to the point where I couldn't even fall back asleep. And after that, I just reduced my dosage to 4 pills, and after that I wasn't getting any stomach pains, and I did that for 2 weeks. And after those 2 weeks, I increased my dosage back to 6 pills, and I took 6 pills for the rest of the cycle, and the stomach pains wasn't happening again. So in retrospect, what I would have done, I would have started off with maybe 2 pills or even 4 pills. Then after time, I would have increased my dosage. So for those who are interested in taking Turkesterone, I would highly recommend this and not jump into 6 pills from the get-go. So let's get into the juicy part. Let's talk about my results. So in terms of strength, I don't focus on strength as much. My goal is mainly hypertrophy, so to build up muscle, but I do like barbell bench pressing quite a bit for strength. But before I hopped on Turkesterone, I wasn't bench pressing as frequently, but once I hopped on it, I started bench pressing again. I got back my strength really fast on Turkesterone, which I was like, that normally doesn't happen. But for some reason, I don't know if it's directly related to Turkesterone, by January 27th, I did 275 for 1 rep, which was really close to my max. Then on January 30th, I did a 1 rep max again, and I did 280 pounds, which was faster than my 275, which was 3 days after. So again, I don't know if that was directly correlated to taking Turkesterone, or that was just maybe I just had a better day in the gym. But once I bench pressed 280 pounds for 1 rep, I really wasn't bench pressing much. As I said, my goal is mainly hypertrophy, and I normally train within the 8 to 12 rep range with my exercises. And I did have some lifts that did go up, but I don't know if that was related to taking Turkesterone, or I was probably going to get stronger anyway. So I don't have much input on that. Other than that, I also noticed I was able to push myself more in the gym. Like, my intensity was greater than usual. But yet again, I don't know if that was directly related to taking Turkesterone. In terms of muscle mass difference, I was able to do an in-body test from an in-body 770, which is the best in-body on the market. This machine is easily over 15k. I don't think there's any body composition analysis machines out there that's really accurate, but I would say this in body is up there. It's probably as accurate as a DEXA scan. So I got 2 tests. I was able to get 1 test done on November 12th, 2021. I got another test done on February 15th, so right after my cycle was finished. What I should have done, I should have gotten one right before I started Turkesterone, but the one I got done in November was 2 months before I started. So I'm going off that test and the one I got done right after my cycle. Keep in mind, for both times I used the same machine. So November 2021, my dry lean mass was 187.4 pounds versus February 15th, my dry lean mass was 191.4 pounds. So that's 4 pounds of muscle gained in 3 months. My body fat mass in November was 13.3 pounds and my body fat mass on February 15th was 10.1 pounds. So I've gained muscle and my body fat mass has gone down. So essentially I've gained muscle and my body fat percentage has decreased. So this is how I looked in November and this is how I looked right after my cycle. And I also want you all to keep in mind my weight has stayed around the same. I've been maintaining. I'm not like doing a crazy bulk. I've been lifting for over 5 years, so I believe maintaining would be optimal for me. I've done bulking in the past. When I just started lifting, I've done a few bulks, but I believe now I'm at the stage where I don't need to bulk. I could just maintain and make gains. So I did gain 4 pounds of muscle mass, and I don't know if this 4 pounds of muscle mass was gained before I started my cycle or during my cycle. But if I had to make a guess, I would say I probably gained at least 1.5 to 2 pounds of muscle mass in the past month when I started my cycle. But again, I'm not sure because I didn't do a body composition scan right before I started my cycle. In retrospect, I probably should have done that. My thoughts on these results is that, again, I'm not sure how accurate it is, but there is a difference between November and February 15th. So even though it does say 4 pounds of muscle mass gained, it may not be 4 pounds of muscle mass, but it did increase, so it may be 2 pounds or 3 pounds of muscle. But even if it's 2 or 3 pounds of muscle, that's still a lot of muscle to be gained for someone who's been training for over 5 years. So I told you all about my results, but I do have some considerations. I'm not here to promote Turkesterone. I do want to point out that before I started taking Turkesterone, I changed my training split. I used to follow a push-pull leg split. So I would be training 6 times a week with 1 rest day, and I realized that my recovery was getting really bad. Like, I remembered going into training sessions feeling under-recovered. So I decided to change my splits on upper-lower split. So instead of training 6 times a week, I would be training 4 or maybe 5 times a week because I would throw an arm day in there. So I'd be getting more rest days and I would be going into training sessions more recovered. So I don't know if the fact that I changed my training splits had a part to play in that. The fact that I was getting more recovery and I was going into training sessions feeling more fresh, which led to me pushing myself more in my training sessions, which led to more gains. Or it's the Turkesterone, or it's a bit of both. I also want to point out that my sleep got significantly better in the past 2 to 3 months. I started taking a sleep aid from HDLT supplements, and ever since I started taking the sleep aid, my sleep has been so much better. Of course, when you get better sleep, you're gonna get better recovery, so that also has a part to play. So getting more recovery from sleep, I'm training less, which also leads to more recovery. I do think those 2 factors also has a part to play, but at the same time, I don't want to say that it was just that and not taking Turkesterone. Maybe it's just 3 of those factors that helped me build 4 pounds of muscle in the past 3 months. Lastly, I just want to pull up this infographic for you all. So it's the hierarchy of evidence, and at the bottom there's anecdotes and non-peer-reviewed media. Secondly, observational studies. Thirdly, randomized controlled trials. And lastly, systematic reviews and meta-analysis of RCT. So anecdotes and non-peer-reviewed media is at the bottom. So far, with Turkesterone, all the results, or if not all of the results we've seen, has been mostly anecdotal experiences, and that's not very clear evidence. But at the same time, I don't want to write it off. And I do think there's a chance that turkesterone can actually help you build muscle. I do think that it maybe did help me, but at the same time, I'm not 100% sure. I think there needs to be more scientific research done. I hope there's scientific research currently being done on this so we could actually confirm that turkesterone is actually working. And until next video, peace.